Hello, my name is Jasmine Candlish, and I'm president of the Children's Guardian Fund. The goal of our organization is to help abused, abandoned, and neglected children by offering financial support to our local Guardian ad litem volunteers and the children the Guardians represent. Today, there are 1,000 children in our community who have been removed from their birth families and taken into state custody. Sadly, the holidays add stress to fragile families, and we see a definite upswing at this time of year in the number of emergency calls about children who are being treated badly. We're going to talk about how it feels to be a child without a family during the holidays, when all around us we are reminded that family and being loved is the most important thing in the world. We're also going to ask for your practical support in making this special time of year a little happier for children who have missed out on most of the fun of childhood. I'm happy to have here with me today Amanda Jesse, who has been a Guardian ad litem for 2 years. Amanda previously served children and families through the Manatee County Citizen Review Program, and she enjoys working with children who have unique health and educational needs. In addition, we have Brenda Zofria and Lenz Toussaint. Brenda worked in corporate America for almost 20 years before turning her attention to the plight of abused children. She's been a volunteer child advocate with the Guardian ad litem program for 7 years and has worked with Lenz since he was a teen in state foster care. She continues to be his mentor and friend. Lenz spent most of his childhood in foster care and at one point was even homeless. Today, thanks to Brenda's advocacy, he has a home and a loving family. So with that background, let's get started. And Lenz, I'm going to direct my first question to you because you're the person who knows most about this of all of us at this table. Could you tell us just a little bit about what it was like to be in a group home during the holiday season? I'm sure there were many things about it that weren't much fun, but were there any aspects that were okay, that made it a special time of year?
Yes, I could say that, but really I could also say that I really didn't have a holiday, but because I had a guardian ad litem and I had a caseworker, you know, like I had people that was always trying to make my life better for me, easier for me, you know, even though I didn't have a family to be around for me, even though I didn't have nobody to provide the gifts that I need for the holiday, you know, the guardian ad litem, they always come around with gift cards, you know, with, you know, t-shirts, pants, you know, like if we need like MP3 players, you know, that's the only thing that kind of make it easier for us. But in the other case, like, you know, some of us used to always think like, you know, this is nothing because like I would rather be around my family, you know, like I would rather know what's mine, like they there for me. But we made the best out of it, especially me. I made the best out of it. You know, I had no choice but to make the best out of it.
Did you make friends with the other children in the group home?
Well,
sometimes it was difficult.
Well, you know, like you have to understand each one of us, we get in there, we have different brains, you know, none of us really related to one another, but we always get close. At the end of the day, we always get close to each other, you know, talk it out, see what's going on, you know, because eventually we start thinking like we are our own family, you know, so.
Brenda, thank you, Lenz. Thanks for sharing that with us. Brenda, from the perspective of somebody who was the guardian ad litem, how did you respond to being with teens during the holidays? Is that more difficult than little children, where you can basically bring a gift and talk about Santa Claus and they aren't aware of what they're missing?
I think it's much more difficult for the older children, the teenagers especially, because the things that they need, just like our own children, cost more. And those things are not available through the program. And for instance, when Len's mentioned an MP3 player or something, I was never able to get him one of those. And what he really needed at the time would have been something where he could listen to music. Not just because it's what teens do, but it's because it would help him escape and go to a calm place that could maybe settle some of the demons and the memories that are playing. And a lot of youth struggle with this. So if they could have music to listen to, it would be therapeutic as well. But there isn't money for that kind of stuff, you know, through the state program. I can't say, hey, I need to buy an MP3 player or you know, an iPod or something. And those things would make a difference. And you know, that's just an example. Teenagers also, you know, some of the young girls that I worked with, their self-esteem suffers greatly, especially when they're in either a lockdown facility or a group home where they don't have beauty products, nail polish, special gels for their hair, little things that would make them just feel better. Well, there's not money for that kind of stuff, and those things would make a difference to them.
We actually have been very fortunate. For the past couple of Christmases, precisely that problem that you've been talking about. Some wonderful groups in the community, the Republican Women of Sarasota and the Municipal Employees Community Bank, got together and specifically asked if they could collect gifts that would be suitable for teenagers. And they set up collection points, or they brought them to the special luncheon. And we, in actual fact, did receive this year some truly wonderful gifts for teens. And I think when we think about children in foster care, we very often think of toddlers and little kids, and we think about backpacks for kindergarten, but we forget that the ones who are really struggling are the ones who are old enough to remember or to realize that they don't have what everybody else has in the community.
Exactly.
And I think there's a perception out there that if we get these children these gifts, that it's going to somehow make it all okay for them. And we're trying to create a sense of normalcy, but sometimes there are needs that are beyond even the Christmas needs. What they really need for Christmas may be, for example, I had a case last year where this child needed a Johnny Jump Up, not just because he needed, you know, to play with it, but he needed it for his therapeutic stuff. And there wasn't the money available, especially at the holiday season, to do that. And the Children's Guardian Fund can help fund some of those things that are needed for not just their Christmas well-being, but also for their overall well-being.
Yes, and you can understand, actually. I mean, can you imagine if the state were trying to push through the legislature a budget that included MP3 players for all the teens in foster care in the state of Florida? Those of us who work closely with the system might think, yeah, you should do that. But I'm pretty sure that most of the representatives would hear from their constituents if they did that sort of thing. So it really is up to us to step into the gap and actually fill those needs that it isn't realistic ever to expect the state to do. But Amanda, you've worked, I think, with children who have special needs or special health issues.
Yes.
Does that add special challenges at Christmas time, holiday times, birthdays?
It does, because many times the funds that are available to those children are used on things that will address those medical needs. And so the foster parent, especially if it's a medical foster parent, is trying to craft their list to make sure that these children's needs are met, especially at Christmas time, where they have people who want to give, but then there are gaps. No system is perfect, and that's where the Children's Guardian Fund can often come in to be able to, sort of take care of those needs when those children would otherwise go without. Medical foster care is very expensive, and the parents don't have a lot of wiggle room. The foster parents don't have a lot of wiggle room there with their funds. So they definitely benefit from programs like this.
And of course, sadly, there are always a disproportionate percentage of children with special needs in foster care, because they tend to be the ones that parents struggle most to cope with, and so they end up in the system, which is...
And I think there's situations where many times in the special needs cases that I've had, the actual biological parents aren't involved. They may have walked away from the child for any number of reasons or surrendered their parental rights. So the responsibility really does end up on the state and on the foster parents, and it makes things a little tight sometimes.
Right. And then in terms of having a support system, Lens, I happen to know from our previous conversations that you were actually born in Haiti.
Yes, I was.
So that in many ways your family is completely disconnected.
Yes. Well, like, I was brought to America by this man, well, he was the one who raised me, and eventually, he got to the point where I guess I was just a burden to him. I was not worth it to him no more for me to be around him no more, or be around his family, because I don't know what the reason is, but that's just stayed blacked out to me. But I had to make the best out of it. I had to make the best out of it without a family. Well, I was like, okay, maybe if I stay in the right path and do the right thing, I'm gonna find somebody that from the kindness of their heart, lend out a hand to me and help me strive to a better life. Maybe one day I come across my biological family.
Yeah, that would be nice. I can't wait. I can't wait for that day. Yeah. It's sad to think of children who are being raised so completely without a support system. I think it's when people about turn 18 and are supposed to be independent adults that you really realize just how much help a person needs from their family to launch into the adult world.
Well, it's hard enough for an 18-year-old who grows up in a home with loving parents, with a good education, with a support system that they've had their whole life. But then you turn 18 and the only thing you've ever known is being juggled around between group homes, foster homes, lockdown facilities, detention centers, juvenile detention, maybe jail, and back again. And this is your foundation, and now you're 18 and you're on your own, and go figure it out. Yeah. All of these children, come with an extra level of, burden and struggles to do, what's hard enough for, like I said, a child who grows up with every advantage.
Yeah.
Yes, one of the issues that is huge for children in foster care, and we have no solution, is that obviously in this country everybody needs to drive a car. And kids who are 18 need to have driver's licenses. Mm-hmm. But the liability issues are so huge that children in foster care almost never get a driver's license, don't have access to a motor vehicle, and so on. On a purely practical level, in addition to all their other issues, they don't have transportation.
Right. Which limits their education opportunities, their job, and so we start the cycle of poverty again.
Yes. Yes, because if you don't get educated, you're not going to get a good job, and so it goes on. And I'm not even sure that there would be enough money that could possibly be donated to provide driver's licenses to everyone, but it certainly is just a small example of the things that we take for granted in our own families that don't happen. Do you have a driver's license, Nick?
As of right now, I just received my driver's license last week, which is I'm highly proud of myself for doing that. But it was thanks to my new family that Ms. Brenda introduced me to. But I have a couple of input on that. Like, when we turned 18, when we aged out of the foster care system, I understand, like the coalition probably said, okay, if you go maintain this minimum hours of this school time, we'll provide you with this check. But they do not understand that, okay, we just turned 18. We never had our own personal home before. We don't know how to just said, okay, we have to save up to pay this bill, to pay that bill, because it's our first time doing it. So instead of just putting us out there and be like, okay, boom, you 18, we're gonna provide this for you, okay, you gotta make it happen. Instead of just doing it that way, I believe like it will help us even more if it's like, okay, you 18, you aged out, we're gonna provide you with this, you gotta go to school, keep us with a mentor that check check up with us on a regular basis, you know, check up on us, see how we doing, not to just drop us in an apartment and just be like, okay, you have to take care of that, you know?
That's one of the programs that Children's Guardian Fund is really working on. We call it Next Step Mentors, and we are trying to provide that because what you're saying is so true. I don't know if other people at the table have their very own family of teenagers. You look, yes, Brenda? Yeah. I just know that when my children became teenagers, there was a crisis a day. And, you know, I just can't imagine how they would have coped if there hadn't been somebody there who was sort of walking along behind them, picking up the pieces.
Right, and a lot of, you know, a lot of the children in the foster care system haven't had the benefit of watching their older siblings apply for a college, you know, application or go to a job interview and then hear the discussion around the dinner table. They don't have that. They don't have the experience to rely on to then know what to do themselves. They're just out there, starting fresh, you know.
And my further input on that too is that no role model. You know, like somebody that's older than us, somebody that we highly look up to, first to know like, okay, we could sit down with this person gonna be like, okay, Linz, okay, how was your day today? What did you accomplish today? If it was bad, okay, what did you learn from this bad thing? If it was positive, okay, how can you make it better than what it was, you know? Like if we have somebody that could just like Miss Brenda, you know, like that just stick, you know, don't give up because, you know, people intend to just give up just because we all have our own struggle. We all have, some of us have no family, some of us have family that just give up on us. You know, either way, we end up with no family. So, you know, instead of just like, okay, how was your day? You know, some of us tend to say, mind your business because I don't know what we thinking. At that time, we just don't have no brain.
Well, you were probably just a regular teen.
Yes, you know.
Teens sort of seem to feel that if they share information with somebody older than them, the world is going to come to an end.
Yes, you know, like we be like, mind your business, and boom, okay, yes, I'm minding my business, and just went about their business, you know. But like deep down inside, little do everybody know, we just would just like, when we say mind your business, you'd be like, what's wrong? Why are you saying that? What is really going on? Mind your business. Well, I can't do that. You know, I care about you. What's going on? Like Ms. Brenda always do. You know, like
He can't get rid of me.
not just soon we just say brush you off and you just decided to, okay, you say back off. Okay, all right, I'm just gonna back off. You know, like once you do that, okay, we just look at it like, do you really care? You know.
I think that is one of the advantages of the fact that the Guardian Ad Litem program is volunteers. Because if you're going to have a volunteer to do something, you have to care about what you're doing. And presumably, caseworkers are busy. I mean, even really good caseworkers, they have such heavy loads that they're carrying. If you tell a caseworker to mind his own business, he's got a long checklist. He's going to say, okay, I'm minding my own business and moving. And it takes a guardian ad litem, do you think, maybe sometimes?
And many times, this is the first time for a lot of these children, especially when they come into care as teenagers, that they're having boundaries put in place.
Yes.
Many times they've been allowed to, for lack of a better word, run amok, and now there are people who are saying, no, we need to do things this way. The gratifying part is when they do start feeling like they're in a loving, caring home, and they can go out and they can succeed in school and they can go and find a job and things like that. But then you run into issues with funding for things like work uniforms. For example, I have a case right now where the young lady got to the point where she wanted to get a job. She got a job at McDonald's, but there wasn't the funding to get her the special work uniforms. That's where programs like the Children's Guardian Fund come into play, where we can get those things so she can get training, because she likely will age out of care. And she needs to get that experience, getting transportation, arranging bus passes and things like that if one can't be attained through the normal means.
But I think you're right. You know, when people decide to become a guardian ad litem or a CASA volunteer, we pretty much know what we're getting into, especially by the time we've done the training, which, you know, is very good training. So you do the training, you get your youth, and you know why you're there, and you want to be there. So even though they may age out, I've had so many where I was no longer their official guardian, including Lens, but that doesn't stop the bond. You know, it doesn't stop the caring, the love. So, you know, I think for most part, most guardians are like sticking like glue to the kids.
Well, and of course, one of the reasons why the difficult cases tend to end up being the older children. I mean, this is one of the positive things about foster care. With a lot of the younger children, the problems get solved. Either the parents, at the risk of losing their children, get their acts together, and the children go home, and the parents are better parents because they've had training and anger management and a wake-up call. Or if it's hopeless, you know, a lot of the young children get adopted and go to new loving homes. So it tends to be that the most difficult cases are the children who perhaps come into care when they're 11 or 12, and there's no opportunity for them to be adopted. Right.
Yes.
Or less opportunity.
And that right there, those kids that happened to, like, to speak, I'm not speaking on their behalf, but at the same time I am speaking on their behalf because I feel like I was one of those kids. Well, when we get in there, it's like, okay, you grab me from this broken home already, and now you put me in a place where I have no clue who's this person and who's that person. I don't know who's really care about me. I don't know who's really my friend. So, like, it takes time for us to adjust, you know, like, but once we find that one person in that whole group that we could just adapt ourselves to, that we could just communicate with and let them know everything, it kind of make everything kind of run easier for us, you know, like, okay, I know even if I don't have this person, I don't have that person in my life, but if I go through this trial right here, I could run to Ms. Brenda and be like, Ms. Brenda, such and such thing going on. May I please get your advice from it? And you know, like you were saying about caseworker. Caseworkers, all the caseworkers that I've had in my life, they great caseworker. But like, you have to understand their job, they probably have like 13 kids in their caseload, you know, like, throughout the day, they have to drop this off to school sometime, or they have to go do home visit with that one. You know, that like their schedule's tight. Like, you can't just have a caseworker and just be like, hey, my shoes rip. I don't have a pair of shoes. I need a pair of shoes. Well, he first thing they're gonna tell you, well, I gotta talk to my boss, and then my boss gotta go, you know. But if you have the guardian ad litem program, like Ms. Brenda, I call Ms. Brenda, well, Ms. Brenda, you know, I'm supposed to be attending this school, and like, I don't have this, I don't have that, you know. She's just gonna say, okay, well, since you don't have that, I need to make a couple calls.
Hello,
to see
Guardian
what's
Fund.
You know, and then next thing you know, I have a gift card, you know, a gift card. Okay, you have to go buy your school stuff, your school supply, you know, during the holidays, like Christmas right now. I know every group home is like possibly like, I remember in 2008, they came around and gave us $100 gift card, you know, $50 gift card some of us get, and we do whatever we want to do. Me, personally, I love music. I probably put it on the radio or MP3 player, you know, so
yes,
we just have to adjust to the system sometime, you know, and let our anger stop us from achieving.
Well, the other thing I think that perhaps people don't realize is the added difficulty that being in a group home setting causes, just in terms of normal teen activities. You have the situation where if a person in a family behaves badly and goes into the neighbor's house and digs up their favorite flowers or something, the neighbor and the family are going to get together, and the kid's going to have a punishment, and nothing is going to happen. In a group home, if a kid goes out and does something like that, vandalizes the yard, or he's going to be in juvenile detention before you can blink your eyes.
Yeah, and I will tell you, a lot of these group homes are not in the safest, best neighborhoods, and so there's a lot of opportunity to get in trouble.
Yeah.
So the whole environment is just not really that conducive to helping these kids.
There's a lot of space for volunteers to provide guidance, affection, sometimes even love, as it can grow.
Well, and as she was saying, sometimes these homes aren't in the best neighborhoods, so when you can get one of these children involved in some sort of activity that helps develop leadership skills and gets them in a good social environment, but that also comes at a cost where there's different things. If they're playing football, they're going to need football cleats. That's not under the normal shoes allowance that would normally be provided.
And extra transportation to get there. And
yes, even if you want to enroll in a Boys and Girls Club program for after-school activities, which obviously is very beneficial, the Boys and Girls Club have to pay for their programs. So that's another fee that has to be found somewhere over and above and beyond just Christmas gifts. Maybe a Boys and Girls Club membership would be a really good Christmas gift for some.
Amazing Christmas gift.
Exactly.
Yes. So we are almost down to our last few minutes. Let's start again with Lens. What would be the thing that you would most like people to take away? What do they need to know about the foster care system and the special feelings surrounding the holidays? What do they need to know?
Well, we just want to feel that caring, that love that a regular family would have, and mostly just keep us busy, and I believe we'll be okay. We'll survive, we'll maintain.
Well, that's good to hear, Lens. Thank you for your input today. I really have appreciated it. Brenda?
Thank you.
What would you, from your perspective as a guardian who's worked quite often with teens, what would you say?
Specifically for the holidays?
Yes, and going forward.
Well, with regard to the holidays, I think it'd be great if we can find some sort of tradition to give them, something that they can count on every year. It might be a little out of the ordinary than what the typical holiday traditions are, but if we can give them something that's theirs, a tradition where we show up and we do something special with them so they have a holiday tradition to fall back on. But on a separate note, with regard to the foster care system in general, I think focusing on their safety, of course, is number one, but I really think we need to start working on their education. The educational opportunities that I've seen available to these youth is deplorable, really. And everything from record keeping to consistency in getting them a good quality education, I think that needs to be beefed up.
I'm sure that's true. And Amanda, we're almost out of time, but if you can give us just a 10-second summation, please.
I think to summarize it, I think providing these children with normalcy, whether it be around the holidays or throughout the year, anytime we can give them something that even resembles a typical family is a bonus for them.
Thank you very much indeed. And on behalf of everyone at the Children's Guardian Fund and my guests, Brenda, Lens, Amanda, thank you all very much for being here. Thank you for joining us, and I'll look forward to seeing you again soon.